Hello there. This is the Let God Die podcast. I'm your host, Josh Mozug. We are currently taking a break so I can work on another project, but I am being featured on a friend's podcast today. It's called Where Did You See God? It's with my friend Paul Granger, and we had him on the podcast several episodes ago. Really cool conversation, but I wanted to direct your attention over to his show this week. I talked a little bit about background with Let God Die, some of the journey just with talking with people through the podcast, the difference that it's made for me. So some of the questions that he asked are just things that we don't really delve into on the show itself. So it was a really cool conversation. I would love if you would go check that out. And I did want to just take a chance to talk a little bit about the project that I have been working on, that I've been taking a break from Let God Die to work on. So my uncle Gary passed away the end of 2013. He was confined to a wheelchair from the time he was 12 on. And so he's the person in my life that I would say has made the biggest impact, the biggest lasting impact on my life. He was very just dynamic and very intentional, very thoughtful, poured out his life for others. So I've been really just like trying to document his life, talk to people that knew him, who he impacted, family members, old friends of his, and just compile those stories and kind of delve into the things about his life, like the personality traits, the things about his character that really stood out to people in a meaningful and lasting way. So the current thought is that will be a separate podcast series. I don't know how many episodes. My thought is maybe 6 or 8, but still kind of growing through that process. And as I talk with people and as I dive into those stories, hear new ones from people, it's kind of taking on different life in different form compared to what I originally intended for it. So I'm really excited about that. If you'd like to keep up with what I'm doing with that, I have a Facebook page where I'll post little clips from those conversations with people. So if you're interested in being added to that page, just shoot me an email at Josh Mozug. That's Mozug for my last name, joshmozug@gmail.com. And I'll be sure to send you an invite to that Facebook page. But yeah, in the meantime, we're going to continue doing some kind of bonus episodes, deviating from the typical interviewing a guest and hearing about their story format. So if you've tracked with us the last 6 episodes, we did reposts of some of my favorites, of some of Calvin's favorites, conversations that we had with guests that had an impact on us personally. Just things that they said that have stayed with us and kind of like changed our understanding of how we view a walk with Jesus. And moving forward now, for at least the next several episodes, I'm going to do something that is not my preference at all. I like to talk with people. I don't like to talk at people. But I thought it would be interesting to kind of go into some of the background of Let God Die, talk about some of the misunderstandings that I've realized personally through this journey. So mostly things that I've realized in my personal walk with Jesus that I've just had off with my understanding of God, of the God of the Bible, and just kind of diving into some of those subject areas. So I hope you'll trek with those. I would love to get your input, and I'm just one person, so I see one side of the coin, so you might be someone that hears what I'm talking about and you're like, you see part of the picture, but here's another, kind of way to look at it. So I would love to hear your thoughts with that. I'm calling these the Let God Die diaries, just kind of diving into some of the background and some of the context for this podcast and for this ministry. So I would love if you would check those out. Those will start next week, and we'll just kind of see where that takes us. And then eventually, probably several months down the road, we'll hop back into the typical, interview format, having our guests share their stories and then delve into the misunderstandings they've grown through and are continuing to grow through in their walks with Jesus. So thank you again so much just for checking out the show, for going on this journey with us. I'm excited for what's to come with that project about my uncle, with the future of Let God Die. And if you want to check out what we're up to, letgoddie.com. We have all the past episodes. And also, if you'd like to support us, we appreciate any prayers just for guidance and direction moving forward. And also, we have a Patreon page. There's a support tab on our website. You can pledge as little as $1 a month. We have some goals that we'd love to achieve with expanding the Let God Die podcast and the Holler and Poets podcast. And those are outlined on the Patreon page. So I have a lot of ideas for the future that I would love to do, but it's just not really possible with limited time without some resources. But yeah, that's I would very much appreciate that, but of course, no pressure. This show is free. It will always be free. So thank you so much for listening, and we will be back next week with week 1 of the Let God Die diaries. Again, if you want to check out my conversation with Paul Granger on his podcast, Where Did You See God? That is up today. You can listen to his podcast on iTunes, on Spotify, pretty much wherever you listen to podcasts. So thank you guys so much for your time, and we will see you back next week.